mood, and that's the mood in the stadium. This is Tim. This is Online Big Blue. Bring you the best in New York Giants sports talk and entertainment. I was at the game for a good majority of it. Had to leave for a personal event to go to, but you know what? It was one of these things that the moment you stepped in that stadium, the moment that first drive occurred, you kind of had a bad feeling about this game. And there's no way, this was an ugly game, and there's no way to get around it. There's no way to sugarcoat it. This was a blowout in the sense of a blowout. This was a blowout at home. This was a game that it was embarrassing. It was beyond embarrassing. The team did not play to their expectations. The team did not play well enough to even be considered a challenge for the Eagles. You looked at it when the Giants scored that 7-point off the block punt, and you kind of felt that was the best it was going to get for the Giants. That was my theory. That was the best it was going to get. And then what do you do the next play? You give up the big run. You give up the big kickoff. This team, I'm not saying didn't come to play, because you never want to think an NFL team didn't come to play. I'm not saying this team looked ahead to Washington, which people are calling the playoff game. The Giants' playoff game is going to be this game in Washington. But you have to feel that, was this team prepared well enough for what was going to happen? Miles Sanders, 17 carries, 144. You had 217 for Hurts with 2 touchdowns. It was a joke at times, and you feel bad. And, I don't feel bad for the Giants because, and I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for people. I'm not going to sit there and tell you, well, next week is when it counts. No, every game you play in the NFL counts. This was a divisional game. You are now 0 for still in the division. You're going to go to Washington and try to figure something out and try to win, because you got to win. There are no ifs, ands, or buts. If you don't win in Washington next week, your aspirations as a Giant fan for the playoffs is going to be over. Because the fact that if we don't beat Washington, I don't think that we're going to win another game in the season. I really don't. And I'm upset about the loss. I'm upset about the fact that it was a loss to Philadelphia. But what I'm more upset about is the lack of urgency at times for the Giants. They've shown this before. They've shown this in games before. They have a lack of urgency when they're behind. It's almost like you get them behind, they give up. They'll get to the line of scrimmage fast. They'll play hurry up for part of the game. But the minute you get the game on the line that you have to come back and start trying to score some points, there's no urgency. And that's concerning for this team. And I think what's more concerning for this team is we had the easiest schedule the first half of the season. Plain and simple, we had the easiest schedule. Now, this latter half of the season, we have the hardest schedule in the NFL. So if you go back to the Seattle game, we're 1-4-1. And you have the Commanders, which you need to win. Then you have a tough game at the Vikings. You have the Colts at home, and then you're on the road to the Eagles. The only saving grace we have on that Eagles game on the 8th of January is the fact that the Eagles may be so far into the playoff mindset because of the fact that they'll have everything wrapped up. They'll have home field advantage. They won't even need this game. So we would have to hope that we could beat like Gardner Minshew. And we'd have to hope we can beat like Mr. Scott. I am more upset, like I said, that this was an embarrassing blowout at home. And I feel bad to the fact to say it, but like I said, I just don't feel like this team showed up. I don't feel like this team showed up to play. Yes, the Eagles are miles ahead of the Giants in reference to talent and reference to everything else. They're miles ahead. But as an NFL team, you gotta put up a fight. You have to. Our starting offense scores 14 total points. And one of them was off a blocked field goal that gave us a short field. There's something very, very wrong here. And you're going to blame the lack of talent. You're going to blame the lack of weapons. You're going to blame the offensive line. You need to blame the fact that this team was, yes, we are in a rebuild year. 1,000%. We are rebuilding. But we got so embarrassed on this day that this is probably one of the most embarrassing losses I have seen from the Giants since 1970, and since I've been watching this team since 1976. And to lose it to a divisional opponent at home is just terrible. It's just terrible. And I want to find a silver lining. I want to think that, I want something to make you feel better about this. You got Azeez Ojulari's 2 sacks. You got Ryder Anderson coming up with a big sack. But right now, the way this team is playing, I don't think we win another game this season. I don't think we can win against the Colts. The only game I think we can win is maybe the last game of the season because of the fact that Philadelphia is going to be so far out of it, they're just going to rest everybody. And I don't, like I said, I just didn't, from the moment that ball was snapped, and I was in the stadium, and I want to thank Big Lorenzo for coming out. Lorenzo and I did the flag ceremony again. We were on the field for the national anthem, holding the American flag. We were Maine, so because the flag this week was just the country itself. So we were actually Maine. We and these 2 other gentlemen were manning Maine. And I laugh because once again, people didn't come back after the practice to do it. So we were like 3 people short on the backside of Maine. So I literally manned the whole bottom half of the state. But it was a lot of fun. I want to thank Big Lorenzo for coming out. I want to thank Big T Brad who came out. I didn't get a chance to get a hold of T Brad. We got sequestered in the hospitality tent when we were doing the flag thing. So, because of the weather and stuff. So, but a big shout out to, like I said, Lorenzo, a big shout out to Big T Brad. It was an embarrassment. And I got another, Dable, you call a timeout with what, 2 minutes something left? When the Eagles are on the 2-yard line before they punch it in. You call a timeout ahead of that. Why? What's the thought process of calling a timeout when you know they're going to run it in? You know they're going to score. Why go and call a timeout at that point in time? And I love it because, it's the stands were filled with Philadelphia fans. They were filled with Philadelphia fans. Probably, I'm not going to say there was as many Philadelphia fans as there usually is, but we had a good contingency of Philadelphia fans surrounding us. It's just the fact that, like I said, I don't think Philadelphia is 30 points, because I'm not counting the garbage touchdown we got at the end, is 30 points better than the Giants. I don't think that. I'm not saying we gave up. I'm not saying we quit, but we got outplayed. We got outcoached, and we got embarrassed at home. And I'm not taking solace or any moral victories of the fact, next week's our playoff game. Do you really think you want to go into a playoff type game after coming off a blowout loss? And you know what's bothering me also about the Giants right now, especially the players in the secondary? Darnay Holmes got beat a couple times, but the Eagles dropped the ball. And he celebrates like he did something spectacular. It's like, dude, you got beat. You got beat like you sold something. The only problem was the dude dropped the ball. I'm not saying that they're buying into the price, their hype. I'm not saying they're buying into the clippings, but I am saying this as an organization, as a team. The Eagles just clinched a playoff game. The Eagles just clinched a playoff spot, beating you 48-22 at home, as you are now 1-4-1 in your last 6 games. There is something that needs to be taken to look. You need to take a look back and step back and see what's going wrong with this team, because I have a feeling we're going to lose in Washington. I got a feeling we're going to lose to Minnesota. And then we hopefully can maybe steal a win somewhere. We got to hope we got to hope Seattle loses later. Dallas came back. It's an embarrassment. It's one of the worst losses that I've seen since 1976. I said 78, but I don't count the 76 season because there were so many bad losses in 76. But this is one of the worst losses I've seen. This is one of the worst losses I've seen the Giants endure at home. This is worse than Joe Judgian. And I'm not calling Brian Dable to be fired. I'm not calling for Joe Judge and everything like that. I'm just saying this is Joe Judgian. That's how bad this was. You need to take a look at this roster up and down from top to bottom. We knew it. We've known it before. We've said it before that this is a rebuilding team. I think we got spoiled with the easy schedule. And now that we're running into real NFL teams, we're running into a buzzsaw. And like I said, you have to hope that they shake it off and move forward into next week. And again, this is Tim with Online Big Blue, bringing you the best of New York Giants sports talk entertainment. And as always, if you could like, you subscribe. If you're green, that button.